Good morning, Austin, and welcome to the Atheist Experience. My name is Ray Blevins, my co-host Jeff D., and this week's guest, Don Rhoades. He's also the co-chairperson of Atheist Community of Austin, and you might recognize he's been on the show several times. I always look forward to having him back on the show.
Thanks, Ray.
We are actually in the mini studio this week, so if any of our regulars might recognize that telephone number, is a little bit different. But this is February 7th. We are live, and we will be taking your phone calls live on the air. And that is the number right there. And as usual, we'd like to start off with a few announcements of Atheist Community of Austin. We meet every Sunday at the Hot Jumble Bakery. Once we get done here, we head down to the Hot Jumble Bakery at West 5th and Waco there. But once a month, the first Sunday of every month, we do a lecture series at Furs at North Cross Mall, and today is the first Sunday of February, and the gentleman's name is Steve Bratton, and he'll be doing a lecture on co-evolution. I read that last week and said something about reverse evolution, but that was what it said on the web page where I got that information, and I was corrected that it's co-evolution. So it still should be good. And, I definitely enjoy our lectures on evolution, and we've had some good ones there. And speaking of evolution, one of our members, John Coons, will be in Houston February 20th. It's a Saturday, and the Secular Humanist group in Houston is celebrating Darwin Day. It's February 20th, it's Saturday, and John Coons will be up there speaking about evolution, and he does a great job, and he does our newsletter. And if anybody of our group is in Houston, please go and let us know about it, because I don't think I'll be able to make it. Sorry, John, but
I'm going.
Oh, Don's going.
Road trip.
All right. Speaking of road trip, you went to the Humanist Freethought Conference last week. Would you like to tell about that?
Yes, just briefly. I don't have anything prepared on it, but it was an interesting conference. Most of the people there belong to various humanist, freethought, or atheist groups, and most of the people there were atheists. One of the speakers at one time asked for a show of hands, so I looked around, and most of the majority of the people were atheists, but a lot of these people don't identify themselves as atheists. For example, you don't really have to be an atheist to be a humanist or in a ethical culture society. But many of those people are. You don't have to be an atheist to be a Unitarian, but they don't require that. But some Unitarians are, and they were there in full force. We had a fellow named Emmett Fields who's done a ton of work on capturing old Freethought documents, old books and stuff, and he has them available on CD, and you can get one CD, and it has all these different writings and things on it. And that was very interesting. I haven't bought any yet, but I plan to. And he gave a real interesting talk on history of Freethought, and made it very clear that there was kind of a golden age of Freethought in this country from around the Civil War until about the 1920s. And then he talked about some of the events, I think he called them Comstock laws, and then there were some raids where a lot of freethinkers were arrested, along with union organizers and communists, and freethinkers were just kind of pulled into all that, and there was a period of what he described as persecution, and it's part of why it became difficult for a long time to come out publicly as a freethinker or atheist. There was a real good talk by Ed Dorr of American Humanists on vouchers. And as people who support separation of church and state, most of us are line up in favor of public schools and supporting them and not pulling money away from them. And that was real good. And Howard Thompson gave a talk on defending ourselves, on atheist anti-discrimination, what to do when we're attacked publicly as atheists. And I thought he did really well on that. And then during the question and answer, one of the humanist people said something about that we wouldn't have to deal with that if we just didn't call ourselves atheists. I mean, it would just be so much easier.
Yes.
And Howard and some of the other people in the audience took that apart pretty well, and I enjoyed that. But it's part of why we enjoy doing this is it's a lot of fun being around other people that are pretty much generally in the same camp. We're diverse in a lot of ways, but we have some things in common, and it's a lot of fun. And I enjoy the conference.
And there's still a certain amount of persecution involved because there's members of the group that are still afraid to come on the show.
That's right.
And
that's right.
That's unfortunate. But we love showing Austin what the atheists are like here in the city. That we are we feel like we contribute to the city, and we like the people to know about it. That we are a good part of the city.
That's right. We pay taxes. Yes. We vote. Yes. We always vote.
Yes.
That's gotta vote.
Yes, we gotta always remind our representatives that we do vote. Yes.
And speaking of people in the group, I've been seen Jeff come on the show several times, and we've all been real impressed by the way he carries himself, and I've seen what an excellent debater you are. But I got to ask you, why the suspenders?
I have no answer to that.
Okay.
It was just an idea I had one day, and I went out and got them and said, oh, these are kind of neat.
Okay. Well, I've been thinking about getting some myself, like a trademark or something.
Yes. All right. But while you got the floor there, Don, one of the things that we're proud of is we're going to be sponsoring the Atheist Alliance, and we'll have a convention right here, and we're hosting it here in April, and we'll go ahead and let you have the floor.
Yes, we are. Let me tell you about the 1999 Freethought Roundup. I'll just give you a brief overview, and then we'll come back to this later on. On Easter weekend, April 2nd through 4th, 1999, atheists and other freethinkers are invited to Austin, Texas for the 1999 Freethought Roundup, the national convention of the Atheist Alliance. The atheist community of Austin, host for the event, is working hard to make this a thoroughly enjoyable and informative gathering of non-theists. Convention speakers will include some of the best-known and most influential thinkers in atheism today. Real proud of some of the people we'll have. I'll just briefly mention Dan Barker, who is Public Relations Director of FFRF, or the Freedom from Religion Foundation. He is just a neat guy. I mean, he's funny, and he's nice, and he's intelligent. He's easy to understand. I mean, he's somebody that is, well, he is likable, and he presents our ideas in a clear and cogent and appealing manner. And I think everybody will enjoy him. He's also a pretty good singer. He did that intro music, and he's got some other things in his repertoire. And he will be. We're going to put a piano in front of him and make him sit down and put on a show for us. And we've got some other people that I'll be talking about in a little bit as the show goes on.
All right, that's fantastic. I'm definitely looking forward to it. It's just 5-6 weeks away.
That's right. Yeah. It's coming up on us.
Well, 6-7 weeks. Not far at all. That's pretty much it for announcements. I would like hand it over to Jeff this time, and with some announcements from the news here.
Okay. This was kind of a slow week in religion-oriented and pseudoscience-oriented news, but there were a few things. For those people that think we spend too much time on Christians, there's a story from San Francisco that the California governor denied clemency to a former Thai Buddhist monk who is scheduled to be executed next week for the murder of 2 people during a 1981 robbery. Jaturun Sirapongs moved to the United States in 1980 from Thailand, strangled the manager of a grocery store in Garden Grove, California, and fatally stabbed a clerk during a robbery in 1981. Now, to Christianity's credit, I don't know of too many stories of ex-priests going out strangling and stabbing people to death, but on the other hand, this is the only instance I've heard of an ex-Buddhist monk doing it. I'm not sure how serious the distinction is.
You think of them being such peaceful people.
Yeah. Now, and you wonder what his motive was and why he stopped being a monk and so forth.
Sent him over the edge? That would be interesting, yes.
Yeah. So there's that. Also, and I want to thank somebody with the email handle Texas Garrow. on our email list for this story. From Cincinnati, an appeals court has overturned a rapist's 51-year prison sentence because a judge turned to the Bible when deciding his punishment. The Ohio 1st District Court of Appeals ruled Friday that James Arnett can return to court and seek a lesser sentence. Arnett, 33, pleaded guilty to raping and molesting the 8-year-old daughter of his fiancée. In handing down the 51-year sentence in January 1998, County Common Pleas Judge Melba Marsh referred to a Bible verse that says anyone who offends a child would be better off, quote, if a millstone were hanged about his neck and that he were drowned in the depths of the sea, unquote. The appeals court concluded that Marsh acted outside of Ohio's sentencing guidelines. We stress that this case is unusual in that a specific text in the Christian Bible was the determining factor in the judge's imposition of punishment, said appellate judge Mark Painter. The prosecutor is going to appeal to the Ohio Supreme Court. So, I am in favor, of course, of not using the Bible as a source of sentencing guidelines. And I am in favor of this decision to throw out the sentence on the basis that it was motivated by religious teachings. But of course, it's terrible that some nitwit decided to turn to the Bible to decide the sentence when that's just going to result in this guy getting off easier. So
yeah, hopefully he'll get a long sentence.
It shouldn't have happened in the first place, and then the guy would just, go to jail like where he belongs. Here's a story from the BBC website. Former Catholic bishop's secret wedding. Former Roman Catholic Bishop Roddy Wright has disclosed that he recently married the woman he ran away with. Mr. Wright was at the center of media attention when his relationship with Kathleen McPhee was first discovered in 1996, and he resigned as the Bishop of Argyll and the Isles. The former bishop and mother of three, Kathleen McPhee, were married in a civil ceremony on the Caribbean isle of Antigua last June. He told he told the Mail on Sunday newspaper. It's not my wording. I don't know what they mean. Private ceremony. In his first interview since the wedding, Mr. Wright, 58, told the paper, quote, "It was very emotional and we were nervous. We had braced ourselves for a bland civil wedding, but the registrar made the ceremony so special. He read passages from the Bible and spoke about God's love. It was very moving, and Kathleen looked lovely. We wanted it to be private, away from the media circuit, so we told people we were going on holiday and organized it all ourselves. After Mr. Wright resigned from the church, it emerged that he had fathered a son by another woman in 1981. But Mr. Wright told the Mail on Sunday he still backed the Catholic Church's views on celibacy. Quote, "I want people to know I fully support the Church's teachings on celibacy and obedience. Celibacy is still a vital part of being a priest because the priesthood is total giving," he said. "I fell in love, and it was a love that was too strong. The failure is mine, not the Church's. I didn't live up to what the Church expected of me, and I have never denied that." So, there's a ex-Christian priest story.
Yes.
His sexual shenanigans. This is interesting, a pseudoscience story. Bigfoot unzipped. Man claims it was him in a suit. From the Yakima Herald Republic, Yakima, Washington. Friends and acquaintances of Yakima's famed Sasquatch hunter say the film that for 3 decades has stood as a paranormal icon to the existence of Bigfoot is actually nothing more than a big joke. "This nonsense has got to stop," said Mac McIntyre, a retired salesman from Yakima who remembers Bigfoot expert Roger Patterson and his partner Rob Gimlin laughing about the international uproar their grainy 1967 film created. Quote, "You see all these scientists talking about how the creature in that film had to be real, and it just makes me want to puke. It's kind of sad that a lot of people won't believe in God, but they'll believe in something like this." I thought it was amusing that this guy is
comparing Bigfoot and God.
Comparing Bigfoot and God. Zilla attorney Barry M. Woodard confirmed Friday he is representing a Yakima man who says he wore the elaborate monkey suit in the Patterson-Gimlin film, and that his client has passed a lie detector test to prove it.
That's quite interesting, because I read an article too where somebody actually exploded up the film there. I mean, enlarged it to where you could actually see a zipper, is what they're saying now.
Yeah, there's a mention of that in this story.
Sorry,
I'm not going to read. I'm not going to read the whole thing. That's something that.
Okay.
That's
I did
true.
read that in an article this week too. Go ahead.
Now, I take exception to this bit of it. Numerous scientists have concluded that the creature in the film moved too fluidly to be a human in a monkey suit, and that its rippling skin was too authentic looking for a mere costume. Now, numerous scientists really means numerous people claiming to be scientists. But as I talk about in my critical thinking series, there are rules about how you draw conclusions about things, and I would really doubt that a whole lot of really serious scientists were taken in by this film. In fact, since Bigfoot has never been officially recognized as a real creature and put in zoology texts and so forth, I would hazard to say that no really serious scientists ever believed it. But well, that's what this story says. The plaster casts Patterson and Gimlin made from the footprints they insisted came from the creature have become the benchmark by which all other purported Bigfoot sightings are judged. To debunk the film is to debunk the standards by which Bigfoot hunters around the globe measure all the other sightings. McIntyre said he used to throw parties at his house back in the wilder days and recalls several of Patterson's close friends and business associates openly laughing at a team of anthropologists that had just declared the creature in the film to be authentic. I used to think it was kind of a funny thing, too, he said. I was thinking, what's wrong with him making a little money? But I started thinking, if scientists can swallow something like this, what else are they swallowing? Once again, blaming scientists when it's not scientists at fault. It's people claiming the authority of science who don't actually deserve it. Some of Patterson's former acquaintances believe the whole episode was intended to be nothing more than a publicity spoof, but that it spun out of control, eventually taking on a life of its own. And we know of other claims that have spun out of control and taken on a life of their own.
Yeah, some come to mind.
So that's the news.
But yeah, I did read that article too about where they were talking about that was the benchmark that all other Bigfoot sightings are judged by, and that.
Yeah, I skipped over the part where they interview believers who are circling their wagons and preparing to make a stand because they just don't want to give up their beliefs, even when serious evidence comes out that shows that what they're believing in is a lot of nonsense. But that's also a trait that we've seen.
Just a reminder, all our viewers there, this is February 7th. We are live. We're taking your phone. I see some lights going on down there, so we will be taking phone calls here shortly. Yeah, I'd seen several shows there on TLC about Bigfoot and that particular film. That film has been shown so many times. Everybody, I'm sure, knows what film we're talking about, where he's running to... Oh, we have Joe.
Joe, he found the number.
He found the correct number. Let's go to Joe.
Yeah, this is Joe.
Good morning, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Okay, all right. Well, I was going to listen for a while. That's cool. Hey, how's it going?
Good. Good. So as you see, we're in the mini studio. You had a different number to call this morning.
Oh. Well, see, that's one thing I was having trouble remembering what the number was in the first place, and I called up 5 or 6 others. So anyway, just want to say hi, everybody.
Good morning, and let me let Vic and Jim know we could actually barely hear Joe in here. We can hear him, but it'd be great if you could turn it up just a hair.
Yeah, turn me up.
Turn up the telephone there for the floor here. All right, go ahead, Joe.
Because I'm important. Okay. Well, there was a little bit of news. I remember last couple of weeks ago. I missed you last week, but there's been another arrest in Operation Crystal Ball in New York City.
No,
the
the
one where
arresting psychics?
Yeah, there's psychics now. They got 2 a couple weeks ago, and who were living in a very expensive apartment in Manhattan, and they were bilking out a lot of their customers out a lot of money by saying they had curses on them as soon as they walked in the door, and they would charge them like $1,000 to remove the curse, and that's illegal. And so this is an ongoing investigation, and I expect there to be more arrests. But the one that was arrested over the weekend, now it was one person, and they were doing basically the same thing. And the charges sounded almost the same. It was like fraud and conspiracy to defraud, and then fortune telling, And the comment they were making is that the difference between legal fortune telling and illegal is when it turns negative, when they say you have a problem or a curse, so to speak.
I heard that.
Yeah, and
that's a state law, right, New York?
Well, I don't know. I'm looking into that. I think it is, because I've never heard of that. enforced anywhere else.
No, me either.
But it's happening now, you know, once a week or so, and it's the same operation, like I said, and they're very serious about it over here. Those things are all over the place up here.
That's funny.
Anyway, I didn't have much else. Everything's going pretty cool. We're fixing to have some snow.
Well,
And,
things are going great here. We're counting down for the convention there, April 2nd.
Right.
So that's what.
Y'all got Dan Barker coming?
Right.
Great.
And,
Great.
and Ray Romano and some other people. And it's not the same Ray Romano that's on the TV show.
This guy's better.
This guy's better. There we go.
He's better. I mean, he's very good. Hi, Joe. This is Don.
Hey, Don. How's it going?
It's going good. This fellow's from San Francisco, and he's got the biggest, deepest bass voice I've ever heard. And the last convention, he did a dramatic thing called Judas, and it was like a first-person thing of Judas. And this time he's going to do the war prayer, which I think everybody's familiar with, and I think he'll do a wonderful job of that. Ray's great.
All right. Did y'all have a lecture recently?
Have one today.
It's today, correct. Steve Bratton, Co-Evolution.
Okay.
And that's 11 o'clock at North Cross Mall.
Make it if you can.
Oh, yes. I'll be there.
Furs at North Cross Mall.
I'll get on my bike now.
Have we been sending Joe tapes of stuff?
No,
We ought to do that.
Well, you know, I was going to ask if somebody was taping this show. Maybe they could send me a tape or something.
I tape it every week.
I'm dying to see it.
Okay, well, I'll see what... email me. And
Yeah.
You guys still got the same email address?
Who, me?
Yes.
Well, no, mine changed, but ours is still the same here at work. But mine is aajoeyjr@aol.com.
All right.
Anyway, I'm going to be on the list off and on, you know, and still doing the same old thing, plugging away. I do have a joke.
All right, let's hear it.
In a small southern town, there was a nativity scene that indicated great skill and talent in its creation. One small feature bothered me, though. The three wise men were wearing firemen's helmets. Totally unable to come up with a reason or explanation, I left. At a quick stop on the edge of town, I asked the lady behind the counter about the helmets. She exploded into a rage, yelling at me, "You darn Yankees never do read the Bible." And I assured her that I did read the Bible, but simply couldn't recall anything about firemen in the Bible. She jerked her Bible from behind the counter and ruffled through some pages, and finally jabbed her finger at a particular passage. Sticking it in my face, she said, "See, it says right there, the three wise men came from afar."
Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
That was all right, yes.
Excellent. Thanks. You guys have a great day, and I'll end with that, and I'll be on the email list here pretty quick.
All right.
Okay, Joe.
Yeah, have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I thought that was interesting, the legal distinction between fortune telling it's okay and fortune telling it's not okay.
Yes.
If you tell people what they want to hear, it's legal, apparently.
Yes.
If you tell people things they don't want to hear, then it's illegal.
So if they really could tell fortunes and your house was going to burn down,
they couldn't legally tell you that.
They couldn't legally tell you that. That's very.
But they can legally take advantage of you by getting money for telling you stuff you do want to hear.
But
That's
it's
fascinating.
And they're making millions on the internet too. If you do a search at there's the American Psychic Association, to where they actually certify their psychics. And,
well, they have the real ones, right?
Yeah, they have certified psychics.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't be fooled by cheap imitation psychics.
That's yet to get into an official government agency, though. I do appreciate the fact that the federal government's trying to stay out of that.
Oh, I heard that the CIA at one time actually paid for remote viewers.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they did experiments.
To spy
Yeah, and they did us all a really big favor by funding that nonsense, too, because now all those remote viewing nitwits will, wave the CIA connection and the federal funding connection in your face and say, see, it has to be real, or else our government would never have wasted money on it. How does that follow?
Yes. And our floor manager had a question. Go ahead, Keith.
Is a psychic and a prophet the same thing?
Is a psychic and a prophet the same thing?
I don't know.
That's
What's the definition of a prophet?
Well,
that's when you wind up with more money than you had
the
before.
future, but they're supposed to get this from God, right?
And then a psychic gets it from anywhere else but
Yeah,
God.
not all psychics claim to be seeing the future. I mean, if they're if they're doing mind reading or something, they're not claiming to see the future. So.
Well, we'll leave that up.
I don't know.
We'll throw that question out to our callers.
There we go.
Is there a
It's a topic.
Yes. Is there a difference between a psychic and a prophet? And please give us the definition of a psychic or a prophet.
Between a psychotic and a prophet.
And a psychotic. Shoot.
No callers?
It's still, they'll come. And we had a couple lights there. Maybe this must not want to get on the air. But just remind everyone, it says February 7th. And would you like to talk some more about the Freethought Roundup there, Don?
Boy, would I. Let me go back to Dan Barker real quick. If I can get his book. This is a very popular book that he wrote, and it's really interesting. I recommend it. First, for his story about Dan Barker, and his story is that he was not only a Christian, but he was a minister. He was in the music industry, Christian music industry. He has written a lot of Christian works that are still being done around the country, and gradually over time, he realized that his religion was wrong, incorrect. He said it didn't happen overnight, didn't happen all at once, but he kind of migrated from being out on the fringe of Christianity to more liberal belief, and then he decided that he did not believe it. He decided he was an atheist. And the story of how he handled that is just really neat. I mean, most of us struggle with this a lot. How do I present myself as an atheist? Dan, being a very open and positive guy, wrote letters to everyone he knew. He wrote a letter to his grandmother. He wrote a letter to people in the Christian businesses that he was doing business with, and told them, I'm an atheist now, and said that I haven't changed. I'm still the same person, but I've come to the realization that the religion I was a part of is no longer, it's not true to me, and I wanted to be open and honest with you. And then he details some of the responses that he got, and some of the people that came around. So some of his family members are atheists now, and that's real interesting. He's also something of a biblical scholar, and it's nothing to him to be able to point out some of the Bible problems that we discuss from time to time. He's also one of them. He was the first one that I ever came across that pointed out that the cross is not biblical, which that was kind of a shocker to me. But the word translates into something like a stick.
I didn't know that.
I asked Arthur Ide about that when he was up, and he said, yes, that's absolutely true. That the cross is a later interpretation. I mean, we really don't know what it was. But then there's more about the philosophy. There's more about how to live as an atheist. So I recommend the book, and I think the guy will be very interesting. And he is going to talk on evangelical atheism, which is, I mean, that's a subject that comes up every now and then. How should we react to Christianity, and should we step up and argue for our case? And of course, I feel that we should. Dan Barker feels that way, and he'll be talking to us about that. And I think that'll be really interesting. Let me talk about somebody else for a minute. I'm going to throw another book at you here. This one was one that John had read, John Kuntz, and did a review of for our newsletter. And he said that he loved it, recommended that everybody on the show get one. And so I tracked one down. And so we're going to have the author of What is Atheism, a short introduction. Douglas E. Kruger will be at the Freethought Roundup.
Fantastic.
He will speak to us on Saturday afternoon. And what I like about the book is that it's very clear, it's very organized, it's kind of in outline form, and it covers a lot of the questions that we get on the show. I mean, if you were Christian and you really wanted to know what atheism was, what do atheists think, and what's its philosophical background, this is all you need right here. It'll tell you what you need to know. And I enjoyed corresponding with him, and I think we'll really get a kick out of his talk. He's from Arkansas. There's not a sure.
All right. So and yes, that's just two of many, because it's going on 4 days. We got several speakers lined up.
Well, okay. Now Friday night we don't have a whole lot going on. We have the Alliance Board meeting. We'll go on that day, and probably the biggest thing that will happen Friday will be we're going to Esther's Follies.
Show them 6th Street there.
Right. We're gonna walk down 6th Street. It's at the Omni Hotel, so we'll be right there by 6th Street, and so we'll walk in mass down 6th Street, and maybe we can make a parade. I don't know.
Probably go a little too far.
Some of these people will take cabs, I'm sure. Anyway, we're going to Esther's Follies, and a bunch of us down there, and we're gonna yuck it up. We're gonna have some fun. The big day for the convention is going to be Saturday. That's when we'll have Dan Barker and Douglas Kruger, James Hott, who is a newspaper editor from the East Coast, and who is an atheist and a writer of atheist books, will talk to us. Ben Ackerley, who wrote the X-Rated Bible, which is coming out in a re-release, he's going to come speak to us. Rowan is
Rowan Whiter
is gonna do a deal for us. John has a workshop planned, and yes, Keith, this is on Easter weekend. So everybody else will be out of town, but we'll be having fun. It'll be good. We're really looking forward to it.
But during that though, you reminded me of something that I wanted to thank Earl Beach for an excellent show last week. We had a lot of people, a lot of response. Earl will be back on the show again. We'll be discussing a lot of the Bible more, because I was real impressed. He
is quick with it, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, that was very impressive.
So I wanted to thank Earl again for a wonderful show, and just remind all the callers and everything else, he will be back on. We haven't scheduled a day, but everybody in the group asked him to come back on, and he did say he would come back on. So we're definitely looking forward to that. Like I said, it occurred to me when you mentioned the Bible there.
Oh, yes.
And I wanted to thank you.
And people in the group are saying that, gee, we've had a string of real good shows here recently. We had the John and Jim do the evolution
that was a good
deal.
One. Yes.
That was some in-depth educational television there.
Excellent. And Paul Wilson did a great job. So this year's
Paul did a great job. Yes.
99 starting off real well. Yes. We got time. If you want to go to your critical thinking?
Sure, I can do that.
Usually about the halfway point. We're almost to the halfway point.
All right. I want to start just one by showing you folks the craziest thing I have ever received in my mailbox. I don't know if you can make that out. It says, a shocking glimpse, 9 stunning predictions for the next 10 years. And what this big, thick, yellow thing that they sent me, is this long, elaborate rant about all these bizarre things they're predicting are going to happen in the future, like you'd expect to find in the Weekly World News. Except that what this group is, apparently, are people that will give you financial investment advice on the basis of these psycho predictions. Just on the back, it's got this handy little summary of their 9 stunning predictions. Mega earthquake eats LA. And they'll tell you where to put your money to make a profit on the mega earthquake eating LA. Ruthless return of the Red Menace. Kind of referring back to that, we've had a caller who talks about the China's gigantic army. Well, these guys are telling you where to put your money to make a profit when the giant Chinese army goes out and takes over the world. Doomsday goons get the bomb. The overpopulation problem fizzles out. Global warming zealots proven wrong. Government invades your bedroom and your bank account. The baby boomers' big surprise. has something to do with real estate, apparently. Incredible Miracle Medicines and the Death of Democracy and the End of the UN. This is in the next 10 years. And they'll tell you how to make money on all of these things. It's just completely nuts. It's equal parts actual reports of things that, they're in their section on incredible medical miracles. Some of the stuff they talk about is actually going on, but they mix in these snippets of real news and real developments with their own psychotic spin and try to convince you by sending you all this text that if you just listen to them and put your money where they tell you, that, boy, you're just guaranteed to get rich. The world will have ended, but you'll be rich.
Yes.
This is the kind of thing that's going on in our world, and this is why people need to be armed with the tools of critical thinking. Because you can read this, and there's a lot of very exciting claims. There's a lot of very attractive claims. I mean, medical miracles, those sound good, right? We want that. But they use that to sucker you in, to make you think, oh, they're not just telling me the bad news, they're telling me some of what I do want to hear, And it's just all engineered to trick you into wasting your money and paying them for advice on how to waste your money.
There you go.
So anyway, on with my critical thinking series. Last week we talked about the rule of replicability. If the evidence for a claim is based on experimental results, or if the evidence could reasonably be explained as coincidence, then the claim must be verified by independent observers who repeat the same procedures and achieve the same results. This week's critical thinking tip concerns the burden of proof. The burden of proof always rests with the claimant, for the simple reason that the absence of disconfirming evidence is not the same as the presence of confirming evidence. If the absence of disconfirming evidence were sufficient proof of a claim, then we could prove any number of outlandish claims. Consider the implications of that kind of reasoning. If I claim that Adolf Hitler is alive and well and living in Argentina, how could you disprove my claim? Since the claim is theoretically possible, the best you could do, in the absence of unambiguous forensic evidence, is show that the claim is highly improbable. But that wouldn't disprove it. The fact that you cannot prove that Hitler is not living in Argentina, however, does not mean that I have proved that he is. It only means that he could be, which is really not saying much. Logical possibility is not the same as established reality. People get confused about this because of the obvious power of actual disconfirming evidence. If I claim to have a tiger in my kitchen, looking in my kitchen and not seeing any tiger will obviously destroy my claim. But just because disconfirming evidence is devastating, when it's available, doesn't mean that it's our only sensible means of evaluating the truth of a claim. In the absence of conclusive disconfirming evidence, we must be allowed to resort to an evaluation of the supporting evidence. If we can't do that, then we're stuck assuming that all claims are true until disproven, which leads to nonsense, like assuming that Hitler is living in Argentina just because it hasn't been proven that he isn't. This rule is frequently violated by proponents of paranormal and supernatural claims, who argue that because their claims have not been disproved, they have therefore been proven. Theists, for example, will argue that because atheists haven't explored every square inch of every conceivable universe, they have no rational basis to reject claims of God's existence. Belief must be based not simply on the absence of disconfirming evidence, but on the presence of confirming evidence, and it is the claimant's obligation to furnish that confirming evidence. Next week, we'll discuss the rule that extraordinary claims demand extraordinary evidence. Thanks.
Yeah. And that's a paraphrase of a quote from Carl Sagan, isn't it?
Well, he of course has referred to that rule, but I'm not sure where the origin is. It's much older than Carl Sagan.
Is it? I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, but because we've used that quote several times on this show.
Yep.
And so, going through the Freethought Today magazine there, seen a couple articles I'd like to share. One of them is Jerry Falwell and the Christian right hysterical spin master is claiming that the Y2K problem may be God's instrument to shake this nation and to humble this nation. Never one to miss an opportunity, the Christian Broadcaster is offering a video, The Christian Guide to the Millennium Bug, for $28. That's amazing. And so they must have the Bible solution or something on that to how to handle the Y2K.
You know, somebody at work mentioned Jerry Falwell and his advice, and I don't know if he paid the $28 and got the book or not. But he said, or video, but he said that one of Falwell's recommendations was that you stock up on ammunition.
Really?
Yes.
Amazing.
Now, I don't,
That's nice.
That's real nice.
Real nice.
Yes,
I know some other people are suggesting that, but we're not.
There's a couple other news articles here that was kind of interesting. This one has to do, many funny bones were tickled in December 10th through 16th, 1998 issue of The Onion, a humor weekly out of Madison, Wisconsin, whose banner headline read, God answers prayers of paralyzed little boy, followed by a smaller headline, No, says God. Witnesses to the miracle said Timmy begged God for several minutes to change his mind and heal his shattered vertebrae, but the Lord stood firm. God strongly suggested that Timmy consider praying to one of the other intercessory agents of divine power, like Jesus, Mary, or maybe even a top saint. The Lord stressed to Timmy that it was a long shot, but he said he might have better luck with one of them. That's interesting, yes.
The Onion also has an incredibly hilarious website.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's www.theonion.com.
Okay. And they also got some alarming statistics here. Are brought to you by the Christian Science Monitor, dated 11/25/98. According to a 1998 Gallup poll, more than two-thirds of Americans polled agree with the statement that religion could solve all or most of our problems. Of course, the polls on religion by George Gallup, a self-professed born-again, must be taken in with a serious dose of healthy skepticism. They're saying that he's biased when he does these polls, basically, but the whole idea that religion's had thousands of years to try to solve the world's problems and hadn't come close. So I think it's about time we go with the secular idea that our founding fathers came up with 200 years ago and give it a real chance. They've corrupted that idea. It goes on with, while the world's population has grown 60% since 1970, the number of evangelical Christians has risen by 126%. So they're with the Catholics and the birth control and everything else, they're reproducing twice as fast as the rest of us, I guess. One of every 7 person was a Muslim in 1950. Today, that has risen to 1 in every 5. So, if just the reminder to the Christians out there when they try to get their point of view across, that they're not the majority when it comes to the world. That the Muslims are definitely coming pretty close, coming up there. And
even growing faster in the United States, where a lot of black population is turned off of Jesus and going to.
Well, and it's a good, the flip side of this is that the atheists out there need to get reproducing.
Yeah, there you
right
go.
away. Let's go.
Yeah.
Time to get moving.
Just remind everyone, this is February 7th. We will take the phone calls live on the air if you have any questions for Atheist Community of Austin or any religious questions.
And Don, one statistic I always like to quote is based on statistics compiled by the UN. If you take all atheists, agnostics, freethinkers, and non-believers and add them up and compare them to all Christians excluding Catholics, and many Christians will tell you that Catholics are not really Christians for various obscure doctrinal reasons, the non-believers outnumber the believers. It all depends how you want to cook those numbers, folks.
Right, right.
Yeah, the statistic, I've heard that before, and I think Mark Twain said there was something about you can get statistics to say about anything you want. And I
just want to thank the Christians out there for doing us the favor of dividing themselves into a bunch of little squabbling groups so that we can cook the numbers that way.
to continue on these facts that's coming in, the internet carries 140 million pages, and I thought that number seemed small. That must be an out-to-date number, because I think it'd be more than that. 140 million web pages related to religion, and spirituality is the fastest growing field. Okay, now that I've read it out loud.
Yeah, only 140 million devoted to religion and spirituality.
Just devoted to religion, yes.
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot more on the internet than the World Wide Web. There's a whole lot more than that. That was pretty much it on statistics there. And there are no atheists in prison.
There may be some. But
our floor manager made that statement.
No, there are atheists in prison, but I think it's pretty well established. There's statistics and breakdowns and of the prison population.
Say there are no atheists pardoned from prison.
Yeah, you can't use that on your pardon there. Put it up there.
And atheists and Jews are underrepresented in prisons. The Catholics, Baptists, and Muslims, dominate the prison population.
Pardons and paroles committee.
I wouldn't know on that.
That's a good. Our floor manager asked if there was any atheists on parole boards or clemency hearing or something to that effect, and I don't know. Technically,
people get on those boards.
I think it's an appointed position, and it's
there you get into the question of whether it's safe to admit your atheism if you're looking for a job like that,
or if you want parole.
Yeah,
or if you want
that's probably a factor too. That I'm sure that comes into it.
Ministries that I know of. We're underrepresented.
There is an organization. There is a atheist in prison or something like that. That exists or used to exist. I don't know if it's active or not, but one of the folks from American Atheists used to run that.
One thing I was wanting to share, I came to this realization this week when I was sitting there talking to friends, and we were talking religion, which, to tell you the truth, being an atheist, I really don't enjoy talking religion that much, but with the TV show and everything else, I end up talking. And you brought it up when you was talking about Dan Barker. Most atheists, when they come to the point of being atheists, they cannot pinpoint one earth-shattering event that brought them to it. It's usually through a thought process and through that brings them to the conclusion of that. Whereas you talk to anybody who has religion or believes in God, they can pinpoint to the day my grandmother, walked on the water or whatever else, and I think it's fascinating that we don't have that one event that we could actually pin, because I don't know of any atheists that can pinpoint to one crucial event in their life.
And it seems a lot of us say that we kind of always felt that way, and as you get older, you feel more comfortable with being upfront about it. But I know for myself, it was a while. I can point to an event that I think got it started. Somebody that I admired made a comment that they weren't sure of a lot of things, including belief in God, and I remember arguing with her, but it was kind of a door opening, and it made it possible in years after that that it was okay to question that.
Anyways, we do have a caller here. Let's try the phone lines, see if they're working here. Chris?
Yeah, let me turn my TV down real quick.
Thank you. Good morning.
Actually, I was calling to ask exactly what you were just talking about. Between the time I called and the time I got on, you guys answered the question, basically.
We are psychic. We are. We can prove it.
I was just going to ask, just curious how other people become atheists. I, in the last probably year, have come to terms with my atheism. I grew up in a cult, a Christian cult, basically, in South America and Europe. And so I've struggled with my religion for a long time. And just recently have come to the terms with the fact that I don't believe in God anymore, and it's all been a letdown, and just curious how other people come about.
We'd definitely like to invite you down to meet the rest of the group and talk to some more, because each person has their own personal events that brought them to that. I came to the conclusion years ago, and for the longest time I used the term agnostic. And then I got down here because let me back up. I used the term agnostic because it was less offensive. And then I got down here to Austin and met atheist community of Austin and realized that it just makes sense to continue the thought process the rest of the way and go ahead and admit that you are an atheist, and I have been an atheist for years. I felt like I needed the rest of the group support, I guess. I don't know. But Don, would you like to?
I would. Chris, I'm glad you found us, and sometimes being an atheist is not the most comfortable position to find yourself in a country that's dominated by religion. But it's now easier than it has ever been in the past to get connected up. And I would certainly recommend that you do that. If you have a computer, get on the internet and do a search, and you'll be buried in websites of people that think like you do. It's possible to now you've got us on TV. I really think it is healthy. It is supportive to get face to face with other atheists that think like you do, and have a drink with them and eat with them. I think it's good for you. It's worked out well for Christians to share time with one another,
right.
and I get a lot out of it. I really do. It's hard to really explain the whole thing, but it's good, and we're glad you called.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. You have a great week.
You too.
All right. Let's go on down the line to Pat. Pat?
Yes, can
Good
you hear
morning.
me?
Hi, Pat.
Hello, I'm a second-time caller, by the way.
Well,
And
always glad to hear from you.
I love your show. I just don't get to see it as often. I'm out of town a lot, so I don't get to see it very often. I'm going to have to get connection with it, see how to get the backup tapes.
All right.
The question I have, or the comment, is when I became an atheist.
All right.
And the thing is, I was an atheist for a long time before I really knew it. I just didn't believe in that Christian stuff, even though I was still a tithing member of the church and everything. And I was in South Carolina, and Madalyn Murray O'Hara came down and was protesting on the Capitol steps in South Carolina. What she was protesting is every year there, they held a Christian carol singing thing on the Capitol steps for all to come and see, and it cost the government paid the bill on this with $25,000.
All right.
So some irate atheists around there were mad about it, and they were having a protest there. And I went down with my in-laws and wife and everything to go to the caroling. And when we got there, somebody made a comment about that, about look at those darn atheists over there protesting. They ought to, they have no business doing this. And my father-in-law, I believe, made the comment, well, maybe they do have some business because it is tax money paying for church stuff. Why don't the churches pay for this? And he was a Christian. And that started me really thinking then. And so then another thing that happened there is I was already a non-believer, but I thought I didn't know there were other people that were non-believers.
There you go.
Until I got in connection with the American Atheists and found out that there were other people that had the same beliefs that I had, so there wasn't anything wrong with me, and that I was able to talk with them. And once I started talking to them, it's just like listening to your program. It's so refreshing to hear people that are intelligent.
Thank you.
Sounding whenever they talk. So that's the thing I get out of the atheists more than anything else, is just communicating with other atheists and being able to go to other atheists and talk with them and know that I'm talking with somebody of sound mind.
Yes, a lot.
That was my comment.
Yes, if somebody introduces themselves as atheist, and now from my experience and everything, I automatically assume that this person has an intelligent thought process that brought them to that conclusion. They don't come to it willy-nilly and just say, I'm an atheist this week, and next week I'm going to be a Baptist, and next week I'll be a Methodist.
That's really true, and I appreciate your call a lot, Pat. That really sounds good, and it feels good when you get to bounce ideas back and forth off one another. It's reinforcing, and Ray, you're absolutely right. It's not something that people just put on and try it out, because it's so popular to be an atheist, because it's not. It's not popular to be an atheist. But after long consideration, some of us feel like, well, it's the truth.
Yeah. One other quick comment that I have is that whenever I meet an atheist, I also know they're not going to try to pull something on me. They're not going to try to push some belief or something on me. They're going to accept me for what I believe and for what I say, and they're not going to try to force their ideas on me. And, of course, it's the opposite with Christians. I've run into a guy this week doing some business out of town in a little small town, and he kept trying to interject in our business conversation that he was a Christian. And I kept ignoring that and bringing him back to the subject of business. And then finally, he couldn't stand anymore that I wouldn't recognize that he had been born again for 20 years or whatever it was, 20 years, I think. And so then finally, he just point blank asked me if I was a Christian. And I just had to point blank tell him I'm a businessman, and this is what we're doing here, and talking about that. But he kept bringing it back to him, and then finally he had to tell me he was a separatist. And if I knew what a separatist was, and my answer to that is yes, I do, but I'm not interested in that. I'm really interested in completing this business here. But then he had to go in and tell me how prejudiced he was and all this other stuff. And so he was really trying to get me into conversation so he could get into my mind, you know, and start forcing his ideas on me. And that's what I don't find when I run into people who are atheists. You know, they accept you as you are, and they realize that you have a brain and you can figure things out yourself.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for calling, Pat. And we're going to have a interesting lecture today, and you're sure welcome to join us down at FERS.
It's called Coevolution.
Oh, which FERS is that?
At North Cross Mall.
Sorry.
We meet in the Longhorn Room at the FERS at North Cross Mall. We just do this the first Sunday of the month, right, 11 a.m. And I think you'll be interested. It's a nice bunch that shows up.
Yeah, I'd like to come down there because I've been very active atheist. I also led one of the first charges on the Texas Capitol steps here whenever the American Atheist was here. And this was probably about 10 years ago whenever they had the Christian caroling, singing, and let all the public employees out all over the state for them to come here to Austin. Yeah. And so they could take the day off, you know, but the state paid for this in that way by allowing them to get out to go to the caroling inside the Capitol. And I believe they still do it, but we still went down and protested and stood on the Capitol steps. And that was probably, to me, you know, a very profound thing, you know, to stand there and have all the people against you and trying to tell you didn't have any business there protesting, that sort of thing. And, you know, you stand up for your rights. And they thought that because they were on the Christian side of the government, you know, that they had the right to use our tax dollars and, you know, to push their religion. And so that was nice to go down there and be able to stand up.
It's I remember that, and it may have been the one that I went to. I probably saw you there.
Could be.
It's funny how hostile people get when you challenge things like that. But there are so many opportunities they have for Christmas trees and singing and all that. There's between 500 and 1,000 religious establishments in Austin and private property and everything.
Exactly.
And American Atheist was exactly right that the religious nature of that holiday didn't need to be exploited in the capital of the state of Texas. That was wrong.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for calling.
And please call again.
Sure.
You have a great day. Yeah.
Pardon me?
All right, let's go on down to Howard.
Hey,
Hello, Howard.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Real good.
Yeah, I just wondered if you guys looked into that tape I mentioned a few weeks ago, The Naked Truth. Did any of you receive it?
We got the number, but to tell you the truth, I didn't do any more than take the number. I haven't called about that. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just wondered if you was, if you had a look at it and what you thought about it. But it is a pretty good tape. It's about 2 hours long.
What?
Did you get the information for it, though?
Yes, I still got that.
Okay. That's good. I just thought I'd tell you, ask you that, and also me being how I got to become an atheist
Sure.
is when I was at school, I was in school in Europe, and they used to have a class called RE, which is religious education, and they also had science classes, and I just couldn't understand at a young age why it was that I was taught religion, and we had this God, and on the other hand, we had, evolution. So I just came to the conclusion evolution sounded more like what it should have been, and this God fanatical, stuff that they come out with, because it's just not true. Like, you know, you see a lot of things about gods and stuff, and I haven't seen one, so I guess I just came to the conclusion that there can't be one, you know. That's how I came about it. I came about 12 years old when I discovered atheism.
So my impression is, well, especially England, I don't know about the rest of Europe, but they're more open to atheists?
Yeah, I think in Europe, I would say that there's an especially younger generation. You know, I'd say a lot of people, religion is kind of, oh yeah, I've heard about it type thing, you know, but over here it's very strong for religion, because I think a lot of people are enclosed in their states, you know, they don't move about like Europeans do. I mean, you go from one state to another state when you go and travel around, you know.
Right.
Most of you people stay in the United States. Europeans, they travel throughout Europe, and a lot of them even go throughout the world, and they experience things just by looking around and seeing how people actually live, you know.
Good point.
Like I was saying, you could go to museums and you get these fantastic ideas of knights in shining armor, right? And you imagine them to be 6-7 foot tall. But when you go and see the armor, it's only like 5'6". So it gives you an idea that these people weren't really that tall at that time period. Plus, you get things like in the Bible it says Adam and Eve, you know, they lasted, 930 years? Well, I've never seen anybody last that long. So,
yes.
You know, I think Europeans have more of an open mind in that respect. It's not being prejudiced against the United States. I just think that the United States has too much influence in the way of these evangelists on TV and, you know, the right-wing wackos, as you might call them. The Republicans, they have a lot of...
Can I interrupt you real quick?
Yeah.
I understand that in England, televangelism is illegal. Is that correct? That
I don't know. See, I moved here in '76, and all I know is that when I was a younger kid, we didn't have any evangelists, period, you know.
Well, I understand that they can't ask for money on TV, whereas they
right,
ask
I
for
think
money
that's
here
probably
on our
what it
TV.
is. But when I first come over here, and I saw one of these guys from Missouri, these evangelists from Missouri. He was healing some guy who was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
But it was just funny that it was just like a comedy show to me, you know.
There you go, yes.
And I was like, wow, this is pretty funny. And then there was that woman that's always crying. I can't remember her name.
Tammy
Faye.
She puts a lot of makeup on.
Tammy Faye Baker. Yeah.
Has those outrageous dresses.
Yes.
You know, she looks really something ugly, but yeah, she was on there, and I thought, my God, this woman's upset over nothing, you know. She's always crying every time I see her, but it's really a comedy show, I think, you know. I mean,
yeah, it was a comedy up until they decided to start getting politically active and take over the country.
Yeah, well,
So.
that's what basically they're doing. I mean, you got that, what's his name, Pat Robertson, and the other guy. There's a Canadian vamp or something. Vimp.
Van Impe?
Yeah, that's him.
I'm not.
Is he Canadian? I don't know.
He's pretty weird too, and his girlfriend he has on there, I guess. But I think Europeans are more open, and they don't, you know, they don't preach religion like they do here. I think it's put in your schools. I mean, religious education is a thing in Europe where they have it once a week on a Friday, but it's not pushed into anybody. It's just giving them the opportunity to learn about the different religions, you know, like Jesus Christ and Muslims and all that, and then you have the sciences. And I just couldn't figure at the time why we was being taught religions, you know, and taught all about these gods. And here we have science telling us this is what it probably was like, and they do little experiments, and you get to see the experiments, whereas in religion you have to go by someone actually telling you and trying to confirm it to you. so, you know, I just grew up thinking, well, there's got to be a truth in the science more than there is religion. And as time goes on, you get to learn through, because I've been to lots of countries in Europe, and you get to, and the Middle East, and you get to learn all the different things. And you can go to the Middle East and go on different tours, and they're totally different. You know, you could go on a tour with the Christians, or a tour with the Muslims, or a Jewish tour, or even a historical tour, and they're all different. There's not one identical to each other, which there again, you know, it just I don't know how to explain it, but it just conflicts with each other, and
yes,
it just doesn't work out.
You think that conflict frees people up to be able to choose the one that makes the most sense?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Well,
so we need an atheist tour over there.
We need one of them. Yeah, we need to go over there and tour Jerusalem and all that, and show them the havoc that it's all brought to the world, because it has really brought a lot of havoc. You know, I mean, that tape, for instance, it has a good one about the Nile. It tells you about the Nile flooding every year, how the Egyptians used the zodiac as part of their year, you know, right. the year cycle. I told the lady when I called back to give her the address and phone number for this tape that there's a mention in there that the Sphinx, for instance, you know, the Egyptian calendar starts in September, which is the sign of Virgo, and it ends at Leo, which is the sign of the lion.
Right.
Well, the Sphinx, apparently, according to this Gordon Maxwell, he says the Sphinx is nothing but a sign telling you their year cycle. The head is the sign of Virgo, and the body is the sign of the lion, Leo. So, you know, all these people trying to find out where who is the Sphinx head and all this stuff, you know, they're just not looking at it right. They should go back into some of their texts and they find out that actually it's an astrological, sign is all it is. What the Egyptians wanted to represent their year cycle, and you know, as you know, it starts in September, and it's just a lot of things based on myth, and it's just amazing. This tape is pretty good. Although the guy Bill Jenkins, at the end of it, he's kind of into that spiritual thing, because at the end of the tape he does say he's not into the scientific things. You know, we don't come out of a mesh of organic soup. He's trying to bring people into this spiritual thing, that we should start thinking for ourselves and be more spiritual. But you know, that's the only negative part about it. But I think Bill Jenkins is some kind of news commentator from many years ago. You may have heard.
Howard, why don't you come down and meet some of the group, and you can tell us more about this.
Okay.
We're going to be at Furs today, 11 o'clock. We have a guest speaker, and love to meet you, and you can socialize with like-minded people if you're interested.
Yeah.
You're invited.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for your call. Appreciate it, Howard.
Bye-bye now.
Take care. All right, let's go on down to Kyle.
Yes.
Good morning.
Morning, Kyle.
Morning. Let's see. I don't know. I've been watching your show, I guess, for a couple of weeks now, and I don't know. I've known I was an atheist for a long, long time, and I truly believe that religion, in pretty much any form, is the scourge of our species, and I'd like to see it stopped. But, can't go around telling people what to think. That's what got us here in the first place.
Right.
So I was wondering, what does your organization do to, bring about sanity?
Bring about sanity.
In our community here.
It's a good question. We sort of dropped the ball on the letter writing campaign. We were doing letters to the editor there for a while.
Right.
We do have Rodney, who does a great job trying to keep us politically active. He keeps us informed on what's going on, and they actually attended the Democratic convention and actually got some wording in on what statement was it? Go ahead.
Well, there was 2 different bills, and one of them was the state hate crimes bill, and another one was an employment non-discrimination bill, and the wording was changed. It was you're not going to discriminate because of religion or lack thereof. Got that in there. I think it's important to be active, although some groups are probably more politically active than ours. I think it's real important that we just be out there, that we just say we're here, that we say that there are atheists out there, and that it's a reasonable point of view. I think that's just extremely important. And when you have diversity, I think a lot of the craziness goes away. I think you can look back to the Constitutional Convention of the United States and wonder how different that would be if everybody in the room had been a Baptist or a Catholic or an atheist or anything else. But they were diverse. There were Christians there, and there was a significant number of people who were not Christian. Although some folks would deny that, I think history is pretty clear on it. And because of that diversity, we get a measure of freedom and sanity in our Constitution that a lot of other countries don't have. And so to me, that's probably the number one. I mean, there's a lot of things we should do, but the number one thing we should do is just make it known that we're out here. Atheists, as a rule, are very quiet about, I mean, if somebody comes and tells me that they're a Christian, I don't automatically jump up and say I'm an atheist. I mean, I might, but it just, for a lot of people, it just doesn't come up. There's no reason unless you want to get in an argument with somebody. So we kind of have to, as an organization, be real open about stating that we're here. We put an ad in the Chronicle. We do the show. We have a website. We even have a few bumper stickers and T-shirts around town. So it's important that we just let people know we're here, that there's another point of view.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, y'all.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That gives me a chance to remind all the atheists there in Austin, we do have an account with the blood bank here, Atheist Community of Austin. So you don't have to be a member of the group, and if you're having problems and that we can help you out, please call our voicemail, and we will, especially a fellow atheist, we will gladly help out a fellow atheist there.
Right. Now, let me just touch on a couple of points real quick.
Sure.
Since we seem to have a lot of atheists watching the show today, which is wonderful. I mean, I'd rather talk about atheism than just about anything else. Let me point out one more time that we're going to have a convention. Yes. We're going to have the 1999 Freethought Roundup, which will be the National Convention of Atheist Alliance, will be over Easter weekend, coming up real soon here. The Atheist Alliance began as an organization, I think Atheists United in California and a few other groups, which had originally been chapters of American Atheists, and then the chapters were thrown out of American Atheists, and they stayed together as groups, and then they coalesced into the Atheist Alliance. There are now 18 groups. They're required to be democratic. They're required to have written bylaws, Constitution, and they make up the Atheist Alliance. Anybody that's a freethinker or atheist is welcome to come to the convention. We have lots of speakers and activities. It'll be a lot of fun.
Great, and we're proud to be hosting that.
Okay, one more thing.
Sure.
Our memberships are due.
Go ahead.
Our memberships run from March 1st to the end of February. People that have joined in the middle of the year, we've prorated their memberships. So unless you're one of the people that has sent in next year's, let me just notify everybody that memberships are about to expire.
Yeah, I was watching because we can say that, but we can't go into prices.
We're trying to be careful.
Yeah, you did great. you handled it fine. I was watching it. All right.
Can we say it's not very expensive?
Yeah, it's
we
very
can say
reasonable.
that.
Very reasonable. Yes. I did hear one little tip this week that I'm glad to share on, and it's kind of interesting. If you have a Jehovah's Witness that come to your door, something about their religion is so set against magic that if you do any kind of little magic, they'll run away from you quickly. They'll just So just pull out a card trick and tell me you got a card trick to show them, and they'll leave you because they're that set against magic. I didn't know. I thought that was a good little tip because I've actually had Jehovah's actually call me because I have a security gate at my apartment complex. So they somehow got my number and called me and said they couldn't get in past the security gate, but they would like to talk to me anyway. And I was like, no, I don't want to talk to you. I don't know how you got my number. And they're very persistent.
You would have had fun talking to them. You would have enjoyed it. The next time they come by, invite them in and have a conversation.
We'll see.
We have a caller asking where the convention is actually going to be held.
Oh, okay. It's going to be at the Omni Hotel, downtown Austin.
And
Easter weekend.
Easter weekend.
That's right.
Call our voicemail. It was 371-2911, and we'll go ahead and give you details and where it's going to be and who all is going to be there and everything else. All right, let's get back to the callers. We're down to 14 minutes here. John?
Hi, yeah, I'm from Austin here. One of the barriers, I think, to coming out as an atheist is, in public life, if you wanted to be involved in politics or to make some kind of contribution like that, I think that it's very difficult. People come out and say that you're not compassionate if you base your life on rationality. If you're using reason, then you're being too cold and you're just too much thinking.
I'm laughing at Don. His vibrating phone pager just went off. I heard it vibrating there. Go on. I wasn't laughing at you, caller. I'm sorry.
It's all right. Too much thinking and not enough feeling. And I think along with that goes the fact that, or another kind of force working against you in that same case is all the politicians out there currently who invoke the name of God constantly, and it works in this society today for people to do that. And Jeff, I wanted to ask you especially, what you think of that, or how you think you can respond to that, not just in an intellectual way that's going to win over a few intellectuals, but in a way that's really going to get to people in general and to have them. I think one way I was thinking of had to do with, the fact that you care makes you want to do it right, makes you want to make sure you get to the right conclusion that's going to help people, and that's why but that's, just half an idea.
Yeah, I don't want to get into too esoteric a thing here, but I don't think that going out and trying to justify being rational is necessarily the way to go. I mean, the reason why politicians can score points by invoking God is that most of the population is theist, and the answer to that then is to have a bigger percentage of the population that is atheist. The more that you have atheists out there, the less that invoking God is going to score you points. So I think it's much more important just for groups like the Atheist Community of Austin to provide safe havens for atheists, and for shows like this to put a nice face on atheism so that people can freely choose to be atheists if that's what makes sense to them. And then we'll see what portion of the population winds up being atheist.
Well, I think that, though, you're not just facing those people who happen to be theists and therefore saying God, works. I think we also heard about how many people there are that are, on the fence or not really believers, or just sort of happen to think that way because that's the way everyone thinks, but they haven't given it a whole lot of thought. But that you have the whole "I feel your pain" thing, which goes to the side of saying I feel it, I'm compassionate to it, it's in my gut, and I want to respond. Well, it's not just not in my gut because I think about it.
Right. Yeah. And we had a caller a few months ago who was asking roughly the same question. Now, where will our society get its compassion from if we're not all theists? And my response, and she identified herself as an atheist, but recognized religion as the source of compassion. And I turned that around and said, well, you're feeling compassion. You're worried about compassion issues. Obviously it is something that is common to human beings. It's not something that is limited to believers in the supernatural. So, just saying that you're an atheist and that you decide issues on the basis of reason does not mean that therefore you don't have any feelings. It means that when you want to act on your feelings, you have more sensible ways of doing it.
I believe you, but you're preaching to the choir. I guess maybe we come out with little vignettes of our own when we're faced in the situation that show real life occurrences, people we care about, and how we reacted. Anyway, thanks for addressing this.
Sure.
All right, and you have a great day. And who knows, maybe one day one of our group will run for an office there, and we would definitely applaud that and give them 110%
But you can't
support.
hold the office unless you take an oath to God.
Our floor manager is saying that to hold the office, you have to take an oath and swear to God. And I don't know. I think they've changed that, haven't they?
I thought I'd heard that you can that they're lax on that, even though it's still on the books.
Yeah,
is what I've heard.
It's on the books, and that's all it takes for people to say you're uncomfortable.
And then the point.
It's not even just running for political office. I think that there is a statement in the Texas Constitution, and I think there was a court case where they can't exercise that. But it's even running for student council. If you run for president of the PTA, something like this is liable to come up. It's difficult to feel like you're going to be accepted if you tell the truth about being a non-believer in this country.
Yeah, he did say that, yes.
Right.
All right, we're down to less than 10 minutes, and I see a bunch of callers here. Let's try Dave.
Hey, first of all, I want to say I'm an atheist also, but...
Fantastic. We had all atheists this morning. Yeah.
100% atheist. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
That's a first for the show.
My question kind of touches on what you were just talking about. I was wondering if... I recognize, I'm an atheist, but I recognize that there's some kind of value in a behavior code, and I was wondering if your group addresses that at all, or...
We'd like to point out a lot of the stuff that's in the Bible is not new. It was there. Confucius said a lot of it before. So you don't have to go to the Bible and quote Christians to get your moral, a civil way to treat society.
And the Bible doesn't really offer up a lot of good advice as far as being a moral person.
Yeah, it's mostly negative.
Well, there's a lot of it that's very, very questionable. However, and atheism does not have a code of conduct. However, it leaves you free to choose a code of conduct that makes sense.
Yeah, and we certainly have no objection to codes of conduct.
Right.
But we would like to see them based on reason rather than on the supernatural.
Uh-huh. I had a second question that's kind of random, but I was wondering what y'all thought about the Waco incident. Because I know they were Christian, but I personally believe that the whole thing was the government was at fault in that situation. I was just curious what y'all thought about that.
Yeah, that's a tough one. The government didn't use excessive force in that situation.
It was very badly handled.
But then, but it also shows you the other side of the coin that somebody like David Koresh could take a few scriptures and get 70, 80 people willing to die for him, and it goes to show a lot of his charisma. And but he has every right to take those scriptures and make people follow him, convince people to follow him.
Right.
But yet, but at the same token, he was arming himself, which is scary. I hate the idea of a bunch of religious nuts out there arming themselves with all the weapons that they had there and everything else. But so I guess I really didn't answer your question. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I know it's kind of a random question for the show, but I was just curious.
Yeah, it's not an easy question. I mean, on the one hand, do I wish that had all been resolved peacefully? Well, of course, But and do I think that the government went overboard? Well, yeah, that seems likely. But at the same time, you got to remember when that all happened. People were just starting to talk about the millennium and just starting to think about how this world is going to go completely nuts and how many lunatics are going to come out of the woodwork and all the crazy stuff they're going to pull. And then they find out about this giant nest of lunatics arming themselves in this compound. I can understand the government freaking out.
Right. I'm
not saying that's a justification. I'm saying I can feel for the government, in their position, worried about, we've got to take a hard line against all this stuff, or it's going to get out of control as the millennium approaches.
Right.
And that's my take on it.
Okay, well, I pretty much agree with y'all. I'd like to thank you for answering my questions. Bye.
All right.
Thanks for calling.
We're running low on time. I want to bump up ahead to Yeti.
Yeti.
Yeti?
Yes, sir.
Hey, my man Yeti. This is Yeti, the morning show producer from KLBJ.
Okay.
Good
Hey.
morning.
What's going on, guys? I called just to say that I disagree with the atheist views, but that I watch anyway because maybe you guys can persuade me.
Okay.
But here's, it's you could have any kind of zealot arming themselves, and it would be just as bad. It isn't just one individual who, as Ray put, has a few scriptures and getting people to believe in them. I mean, there's people out in the hills that are ringing bells for Jah and having large stockpiles of weapons gathered. I think it's any kind of zealot who will do it in the name of religion. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree totally.
Or in the name of non-religion. I mean,
Sure.
Yeah, or non-religion.
if those people in that compound had been atheists and they'd been acting like that, they'd been locking themselves away and talking crazy stuff and arming themselves, I'd have exactly the same opinion of the government's behavior as I have now.
Okay,
Because that it was probably over the top, but I can understand why they were worried.
That's my second question is, if they had been atheists, how would that make you feel about, hey, these people believe the same as we do, and yet look at them, look at the bad name that they're making for the rest of us?
Well, for one thing, you'd find that most atheists would be willing to admit that, yes, a person who calls himself an atheist is an atheist. As opposed to most Christians, who will say, well, David Koresh wasn't really a Christian because he was doing bad things.
Well, I believe you could be a Christian and do bad things.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm not arguing against you. I'm contrasting atheists with theists here. I don't know what you are.
But back to your first point, what I'd like to point out is how many thousands we had through history that have used the Bible to convince people to do the evil that they've done through history, like Koresh and Jim Jones. My feeling is any book that has contributed that much evil to the world should always be pointed out, the evil that is brought into the world. What little bit of good it's been brought about is not worth all the evil that's brought about.
Well, I would semi-agree, because I think more injustice has been done in this world due to religion.
Thank you, yes.
All the way back. But I think it's people believing in one way or another, saying, you must believe like I believe.
Excellent point.
Thanks, guys.
And thanks for calling, Yeti.
Bye.
You have a great day.
Oh, I forgot to ask him about Bigfoot. Oh, well.
Oh. Yes, we've got to ask Yeti about the Bigfoot. That's good.
You might want to tell Bill to call that next person.
All right.
Bigfoot.
And, well, that's it for the callers. Now we're down to a minute and a half. That's our voicemail. If we didn't get you on the air, please call back next week.
Oh, and we had so many atheists calling today. Folks, come on down to the Lubies. Furs, 11 o'clock, North Cross Mall, and if you don't make that, then Hot Jumble Bakery. What's the address?
Sunday.
Every Sunday morning.
West 5th and Lavaca.
West 5th and Lavaca at 10:30 or 11.
It's not actually right on the corner, but it's real close to the corner there. Anything you'd like to?
Just remind everybody once again that we will be having a convention, a National Atheist Convention, downtown in the Omni Hotel over Easter weekend. If you're interested, call our voicemail, 371-2911, and we'll get you connected up.
All right. Just remind also, we love you. We welcome all the atheists down to Furs and North Carolina. I don't know why you keep doing that. I didn't say it this morning.
Why don't you turn the camera on something dark so we can see that text?
Yeah, we couldn't even read the text there.
Turn that camera on over there. Something?
Yeah. There's our voicemail.
They're still fiddling with it.
It's kind of hard to read but this show's been brought to you by Atheist Community of Austin. There's our website. There's our voicemail. There's our crew. We want to thank the crew. Yes.
You can read that.